Now, our top story, Labour infighting is heating up, with the former Deputy Prime Minister AngelaRayner allegedly securing £1 million backing in her bid to oust Sir Keir Starmer.
That's quite a treasure chest, isn't it? The former Deputy Leader was forced to resign, of course, if you remember, from the Cabinet 5 months ago over her underpayment of stamp duty when she bought her flat on the seaside. Allies now say, though, she is ready to step back into the big time.
Right, so while Keir Starmer's sitting in number 10, presumably wondering why nobody seems to like him anymore, AngelaRayner's essentially turned up to his office with a tape measure and some paint samples, and she's not alone. Welcome to the most awkward workplace in Britain, where your colleagues aren't just undermining you, they're openly building war chests to take your job. Picture this. You're the Prime Minister. You won a landslide election less than a year ago. You should be untouchable. But instead, your former Deputy PM is literally setting up a limited company, yes, an actual registered business, to organise her campaign to replace you. Your Health Secretary's apparently playing political risk in his spare time. And the Mayor you tried to keep out of Parliament? Yeah, he's more popular than ever, and even more determined to come back and finish what you started. This isn't Game of Thrones, this is British politics in 2025, and it's absolutely wild. I'm Brit Articles, and today we're diving into the Labour leadership drama that's unfolding faster than a Netflix series. And if you want to stay ahead of the chaos, because trust me, there's more chaos coming, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. You're going to want front row seats for this. Let's start with AngelaRayner, because honestly, she's not even trying to be subtle anymore. The woman has raised £1 million, £1 million. For context, that's not "I might run for leader one day" money, that's "I've already mentally redecorated Downing Street" money. She's been on what insiders are calling a charm offensive, which in political speak means she's been schmoozing donors like she's on a political version of The Apprentice, except instead of selling lemonade, she's selling herself as the next Prime Minister. And here's the kicker. She's apparently already started handing out promises, cabinet positions, the political equivalent of "back me now and I'll make sure you get a good parking spot later." It's brilliant, really. Why wait for Keir to implode when you can start building your government now? It's like planning your wedding before you've even been proposed to, except instead of a wedding planner, you've got the Office of AngelaRayner Limited, an actual limited company registered to organise her leadership bid. Let me repeat that because it's so deliciously brazen. She created a business, a literal business entity, for her campaign. That's not ambition, that's infrastructure. That's not "I'm thinking about running", that's "I've already got the letterhead printed". Now, you might be thinking, surely Keir saw this coming. Well, yeah, probably, but what's he supposed to do about it? Fire her? Oh, wait, he already did, sort of. She resigned from Cabinet last year after that whole tax situation. Remember that? The £800,000 flat in Hove, where she apparently underpaid stamp duty. Yeah, that's still hanging over her like a particularly expensive sword of Damocles. HMRC's still investigating, and Rayner's reportedly desperate for them to wrap it up because it's rather hard to campaign for Prime Minister when the taxman's knocking at your door asking uncomfortable questions. But here's the thing about AngelaRayner. She doesn't seem to care. Or rather, she's calculated that by the time the May local elections roll around and Labour gets absolutely pummeled, which everyone seems to think is inevitable, nobody's going to care about her tax issues. They're going to care about the fact that Keir Starmer's Labour Party just lost elections it should have won. And at that point, her £1 million war chest and her pre-assembled shadow cabinet start looking pretty attractive. But wait, there's more, because AngelaRayner isn't the only person sharpening their knives. Enter Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Greater Manchester, the man Labour tried to keep out of Parliament, the political equivalent of trying to put a lid on a pressure cooker and then acting surprised when it explodes. So here's what happened. Labour barred Andy Burnham from standing in the Gorton and Denton by-election on February 26th. And you know what that did? It made him more popular. It made his supporters angrier, and it made his eventual return to Westminster feel less like a possibility and more like an inevitability. One Burnham ally literally said, and I quote, "The blocking has only delayed the inevitable." That's not even subtle. That's a political threat delivered with all the subtlety of a brick through a window. And the timing, chef's kiss, because Labour's terrified they're going to lose this by-election in a seat they should win comfortably. And Keir Starmer, the sitting Prime Minister, apparently won't even visit to campaign because he's worried he'd be, and I quote again, toxic to voters. Imagine being so unpopular in your own party's stronghold that your own team doesn't want you showing up. That's not a leadership problem, that's a crisis. Burnham's played this perfectly. He was an MP before. He was a cabinet minister before. He knows how the game works, and now he's got the added bonus of looking like the martyr who was kept out by the establishment, which in British politics is basically currency. He doesn't even need to campaign. His supporters are doing it for him. Every article about how he was blocked just makes him look better and Keir look worse. Oh, but we're not done, because there's a third player in this political version of Hunger Games, Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, the man who's apparently been wargaming his own leadership challenge. Wargaming, like he's got a little model of Parliament set up with toy soldiers representing different MPs, and he's moving them around going, if I get these 30 to back me and Rayner splits the left vote, then maybe... Streeting's interesting because he represents a different faction entirely. Rayner's the working-class northern voice, Burnham's the charismatic mayor with name recognition. Streeting, he's the young, media-savvy, unashamedly ambitious modernizer. He's the one who'll go on television and actually sound convincing, and in a party that's currently got all the public appeal of wet cardboard, that matters. The fact that he's even considering a challenge tells you everything about where Keir is right now. When your own cabinet secretary is openly planning your political funeral, you don't have a loyalty problem, you have a terminal diagnosis.
Now let's talk numbers, because this is where it gets properly interesting. Under Labour Party rules, you need 81 MPs to trigger a leadership challenge. 81. Out of Labour's massive parliamentary majority, that's not a huge number. And here's the absolutely delicious part. All three of these potential challengers, Rayner, Burnham and Streeting, apparently have enough supporters to hit that threshold. Think about that. The Prime Minister's own party has at least 3 different factions, each large enough to potentially remove him. That's not a party, that's a civil war waiting for someone to fire the first shot. And the trigger? May's local elections. If Labour loses in Scotland, which looks likely given the SNP's resurgence and Labour's recent polling, if they lose ground in Wales, if English councils start flipping, then suddenly those 81 MPs start having conversations. Then those conversations become WhatsApp groups. Then those WhatsApp groups become coordination. And then suddenly Keir Starmer's getting a very polite letter explaining that his services are no longer required. The irony of all this, Keir Starmer won the biggest Labour victory in decades. He demolished the Conservatives. He got the keys to Downing Street with one of the largest majorities in modern history. And less than a year later, he's got 3 separate leadership campaigns organising against him like he's already yesterday's news. What happened? Well, turns out winning elections and governing are 2 very different skills. The public's turned on him faster than milk in summer. His approval ratings are in the toilet. His own MPs are already looking past him to whoever comes next. And the 3 people most likely to replace him are raising money, making promises and building teams like they're on a reality show called So You Think You Can Prime Minister. And here's why this matters beyond just the political soap opera of it all. Britain's got actual problems. The NHS is struggling. The economy's uncertain. There are real issues that need real leadership. But instead, we've got a Prime Minister who can't even visit his own party's by-election because he's too unpopular, and 3 ambitious politicians circling like sharks who smell blood in the water.
If Keir goes, and it's increasingly looking like when, not if, then Britain could be looking at yet another Prime Minister who wasn't elected to the job by the public. We've seen this movie before, multiple times, and every time the public gets a bit more cynical about whether their vote actually matters when parties can just swap leaders like they're changing phone contracts. The human element. Spare a thought for Keir Starmer, though. Imagine working your entire career for something, finally achieving it, and then immediately watching everyone around you start planning your exit party. Your former deputy's got £1 million and a limited company. The mayor you blocked is more popular than ever. Your health secretary's playing political war games, and you can't even show your face in your own party's heartlands without being considered toxic. That's got to sting, but then again, this is British politics. If you can't handle your colleagues plotting against you before you've even warmed the seat, you probably shouldn't be Prime Minister in the first place. So, what happens next? My money's on May being absolutely brutal for Labour. Those local elections are going to be the referendum on Keir's leadership that nobody asked for, but everyone's getting anyway. If Labour loses big, and all signs point to them taking a kicking, then the phone calls start, the meetings happen, the numbers get counted, and then we find out which of our 3 contenders has actually got what it takes. Does Rayner's £1 million war chest translate to MP support? Can Burnham overcome being kept out of Parliament to somehow lead the party? Will Streeting's wargaming actually work in practice? One thing's certain, this isn't over. This is just the opening act, and British politics being what it is, we're probably in for a few more plot twists before this particular drama reaches its conclusion. Thanks for watching. The game's afoot, and it's only going to get messier from here.